Hello and welcome to Conversations with Lady Pruitt. I am so excited that you're with me one more time. This month, I am so happy. We're going to be talking about married love. And I'm going to actually be doing 2 videos this month instead of 1. The first one will be with my husband, who's going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about some issues that pertain with marriage and maybe a little bit of advice for younger couples, and kind of talk about some of the things that we've experienced through our marriage. In the second one, I'm actually going to invite 2 other couples, one that has been married for a short time and another one who's been married also for a little while. And we're also going to talk about the way they interact with each other as couples and some of the things that they have learned as they have, their marriage has progressed. So I'm excited for you to join us, and we're going to go right into our conversation. Today joining me is my husband of 33 years. Honey, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Pastor Eddie Pruitt of Holiness, Tabernacle, Church of God in Christ. I'm a full-time minister. I love preaching the gospel, and I have been blessed to have this lovely woman walk with me for the last 33 years.
Well, since we are talking about marriage, we have been, as you said, married for 33 years. We have 4 beautiful daughters. We have 2 of them that are married. So we have 2 sons-in-law. And we have combined about 5 grandchildren.
About five.
5 grandchildren. So,
and do we call them son-in-laws or son-in-love or sons?
We go back and forth. We call them sons-in-law, or we call them sons. But they are our sons. Yes, they are. All right. So as you mentioned, you're a full-time pastor. I normally categorize myself as a stay-at-home wife.
Or domestic engineer.
Actually, stay-at-home wife works best for me. And I like saying stay-at-home wife because I hear people say, they're stay-at-home moms, but my children are grown. They're all adults, so I'm no longer a stay-at-home mom. I'm more of a stay-at-home wife.
But you are, in all fairness, you are very active in the ministry. You play an integral role in the ministry, significant. So between helping with world missions, feeding, and doing the CED program, you stay quite active. So I think that should be brought to light. You do a lot of things.
Yes, I do.
And it's a big part of our marriage.
It is. It's actually a huge part of our marriage. I am I call myself also a full-time pastor's wife, and which comes with a lot of responsibility and different things that I do, but I thoroughly enjoy it.
Okay.
All right, so since we're talking about married love today, honey, let's talk about what first attracted you to me.
All right, this is a family show, so no. And in all honesty, when I tell this story, I'm very appreciative, and sometimes you don't like it, but when I first felt attracted to you, I knew I was going to marry you before I even met you. And I think it's a story worth telling. I was in graduate school, new in ministry, working with my father in Illinois, and my sister had relocated to Staten Island, New York, and she called me and asked me to come up and visit her, and wanted me to meet some of her friends. And I wasn't really interested in that at all. I was focusing on my career, on ministry. And when she said, I want you to meet, so-and-so and so-and-so, and I want you to meet Vivian, as soon as I heard your name called, the Spirit spoke to me and told me, get your ticket, go to New York, meet Vivian. That's going to be your wife. It doesn't sound real romantic, doesn't sound perhaps plausible, but that's the God knows truth. And so when I met you for the first time, I noticed how you carried yourself. You were quiet, but there was an inner confidence in you that I was just drawn to. And so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Yes. So that's how I became. Again, before I knew you, I knew you were going to be my wife.
Okay.
But I didn't tell you that.
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't. On my end of the story, what had first attracted me to you, starting back in the story, just like you did, your sister and I attended the same church on Staten Island in New York, And she said to me, "My brother's coming to visit, and I want you to meet him." And I said, "Okay, I'll meet him." And I heard her ask 3 other girls the same thing. So anyway, you came to visit, and
I did meet those young women,
uh,
but I expressed no interest in them.
okay. But I remember when you first met me, I thought you had no interest in me
The Lord was my shepherd.
because you, if you remember, you actually did not. You ignored me most of the night.
I said hello.
You said hello.
I introduced myself.
Yes.
I was very confident.
Yes, and then that was it. Then you moved away and didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. So, but
theoretically, I think I might have.
yeah. But anyway, things that drew me to you were you definitely had an air of confidence about you. You seemed like a young man that knew where you were headed. So that was something that really attracted me. And one thing that I always tell you is that I felt you had potential. So your potential definitely attracted you to me. So let's talk about, most people usually say, what is the best marital advice that you've been given? But today I want to talk about a little bit about what is the worst advice that you were ever given?
Well, what comes to mind is when Oprah in The Color Purple said, "You too hard to beat me." I can't recall, and I don't believe I have ever really received marital advice, good or bad, from anybody. I wasn't one to go around asking, but I will say that I was a student of observation. There were 2 deacons at our old church. I call them Christian gentlemen. Mm-hmm. I loved how they opened the doors for their wives. They put the car around and pick up their wives. I admired that. I admired how my dad worked hard to provide for my mother. I observed and watched those things. And so I would have to say, by observation, the worst I ever seen that made an impact on me was I knew of someone, he was married with a family, and he dressed extravagantly. I mean, he dressed to the T, and his wife and children didn't dress so well. Okay. I made note of that. I thought it was just in bad taste for the husband and provider to live several stations above his wife and his family. I didn't want to be that type of person. So I think that would be, to me, that was bad advice.
Okay. Well, for me, I actually never went around seeking marital advice.
But there's nothing wrong with that. You just need it.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
Yes, I never did. But I guess I could say I did see some bad role models of marriage being modeled before me. And one of the things that I did, I know for some people, usually when they see a bad marriage model as they're growing up, they actually end up having a bad marriage or modeling the same behaviors, where I actually went in the opposite direction. I would look at those behaviors and I would say, that's something that I don't want in my marriage, so I want to do it differently. So in that way, I guess you could say some bad marriages actually modeled for me what not to do in marriage.
Yeah.
All right, so now, quarantine life. We have been in quarantine for about a year now.
10, 11 months, yeah.
Yeah, almost a year. And so let's talk a little bit about how this has affected our relationship.
I think it has drawn us closer together. I spend more time at home.
Yes.
And I think we've had to learn one another over again. We've had to strike some agreements or some compromises. We have developed new hobbies together.
Actually, the hobbies, I actually like that we've developed hobbies together.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is our word game, which, by the way, several levels above you.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. I will readily admit that. We were walking together before the weather turned. I enjoy that. I'm an outdoor type person.
Right.
I enjoy the walking together.
And then how about our favorite thing, watching old movies? We've become, we're old movie buffs, so we
Yeah.
like watching old classic black and white movies. So that's
Yeah.
something we do together. But also, I must say that we kind of give each other our space every once in a while.
Mhm.
So it's not like we spend every waking moment together. Sometimes you like to retreat and do some studying or do some other things. I like to retreat to another part of the house. And one of the hobbies that I actually took up was painting. And I actually love to paint and spend a lot of time painting. And usually when I'm painting, you'll be off doing something else, and I'll put it up. And sometimes we'll say, hey, do you want to do something together? We'll do something together. We've been having a lot more meals together because we used to eat out all the time.
You left something out.
What's that?
You have become much more involved in ministry in foreign countries. And I really admire that. I really do. I love seeing you do that. I love hearing you talk in Espanol to those young women there. I just love that. And I love seeing how you brighten up. You laugh, and I hear them laughing, and that has been real medicine for me, because I believe that is real ministry at the ground level.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of us, I think, kind of it eludes a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing you do that, it gives me some hope that somebody somewhere is making a difference for Christ in someone's life. After me.
Yeah, actually, I love that work. It's so much so that I'm hoping to actually do one of my blogs on the ministry that I'm actually doing in the Dominican Republic. So that would be a wonderful thing. So, but it has been nice spending time together this whole year, but usually you're off to work in the morning, and I see you in the afternoon, but I've actually enjoyed our time together.
Yeah.
So challenges, let's talk about challenges that we've experienced in our marriage over the years. The first one that comes to mind for me, very first one, especially early on in our marriage, is finance.
Yeah.
Finance was our biggest hurdle with our marriage. We just did not make ends meet. We tried all we can to make ends meet. Unfortunately, you spent a lot of time being underemployed because you were educated, and but you couldn't seem to get a job that matched your education. So we actually struggled terribly while we were in the early parts of our marriage. And as a matter of fact, there's a story that you always tell. I think it may be beneficial for others to hear about the baby formula and the baby cereal.
Oh, yeah. Well, you said something that I kind of differ when you said that we didn't make ends meet. We made ends meet. It was a struggle,
It was a huge
but we never went hungry.
Mm-hmm.
We never accepted to sleep outside or be reduced to, begging in the street.
That's true. You're correct.
But it was a struggle.
It was.
And, when we talk with other couples, we make note of the fact that most marriages end within 5 to 7 years
Mm-hmm.
because of finances.
Right.
But instead of it driving us apart, it drove us together because we struggled together.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, let me interrupt you there,
Okay.
because that is very key to bring out. And you're right. They say finances is probably one of the number one things that drives couples apart. But for us, we just clove or cleave to one another, which is what really, really helped us in our marriage, is that we stuck together even through the difficult parts. I think about the time when you wanted me to go back with my mom for a period of time, just until you can get kind of things together financially. And you always, I know you like to say what I always said to you, because it's kind of stuck in your head.
You said, "You my husband, I'm your wife," and I believe you said, "I believe in you, and we're gonna go through this together." And that was the fuel I needed in my tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we came through it together,
And
didn't
came
we?
through together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Lord has really helped us in that area.
But the story, I worked several jobs, menial jobs, but I did what I could to keep, the lights burning, and because we had small children, we couldn't go out and work because childcare was tore us up. And I got home from work that early that Saturday morning, and you informed me that we were out of milk, the Similac infant milk, whatever it was, and I had no money. And so I was going to pawn this wedding band, and I had a nice watch that my parents had given me for college graduation, and a radio. And drove to the pawn shop. It was closed. 2 early in the morning. I came back home, and getting out of the car, an angel. I said that woman was an angel with an army uniform on. Stopped me and said, "Sir, don't you have a small child in your house?" I go, "Yeah." Anyway, we can't talk forever. I love telling the story, but she practically made me take a big case of baby cereal, and I didn't want it because of my pride. And the Lord dealt with me and my pride, and and then while I was putting that away, several boxes of baby cereal, someone called you and said that their child was allergic to that
to the baby formula.
To the baby formula, and they had a case of it.
Yes.
And I drove over there and got that, and came back, and we had so much that it wouldn't fit in our cabinet. And I started calling people. Hey, you need any baby cereal? Hey, you need any baby milk? We went from being without to being a distribution center, because God did it. But I will say this: even though we struggled, you never blamed me for being underemployed.
Yes. Correct.
I never blamed you
Yes.
for not helping enough.
Yes.
I think it was our love for Christ and one another that kept us strong.
Yeah, I really believe that. I really believe that. And actually that takes us right into our next question, which would be, how would we advise a young couple that's just married? And I think these are things that you really got to remember, is that when you're married, you're in a relationship with this person, and you need to remember that this person and you are to become one. And because we cleave together, or we stuck together through the tough times, and if you can make it through the tough times, sticking to one another and not blaming each other, as you were mentioning, because when you start blaming, that starts deterioration, kind of a breakdown of the marriage.
Like Adam and Eve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because we were able to stick together through the tough times, I think that has really benefited our marriage today.
And all marriages, all relationships have challenges.
Yeah.
But if the couple believes in Christ, that is an advantage Christian couples have over other couples.
That's true.
Because if God can do anything, He can heal emotions, feelings. He can heal. But if you try to solve it outside of God, that's where interferences and distractions and hindrances will come in, because the enemy, the devil, is against any relationship. Husband, wife, father, son, mother, daughter. He don't like to see nobody get along, let alone a marriage, because marriage is the symbolism that God used to shed light on His love for the church.
Very true.
The husband and the wife, Christ and the church, which is the bridegroom. So, yes, we have had some struggles. There are times when I use this where we're going like this. I'm saying something and you're saying something else.
Yes.
And what you say, I hear differently.
Yes.
And what I say, you hear differently.
Yes, because men and women hear things differently.
Yeah. But we have learned to kind of stop.
Yes.
Hit the reset button. Or how you said the other night, to go back to the default settings and reconnect.
Yes.